good with it. You know, it's a Palm Sunday. I think every day is Palm for me because, never mind, it's a different story right there. But, you know, get out there with some real. So, you already know my trusted Bible right here. So we're going to do a little reading. I know you're waiting for some jokes and all that. So if you don't want to hear about the Lord on Palm Sunday, just fast forward and go straight to the jokes. That's some outtakes of other videos I did that I just didn't put out yet. So you can just check out the outtakes. But, you know, if you got a few minutes for the Lord, if He ever did anything for you, listen to His reading. Lord, I pray you bless me as I read your word and we get understanding of it. I just thank you for the strength. I appreciate everything, Lord. So right now we're about to read Genesis. About to read about Joseph. Yeah, about to read about Joseph. All right. So I ain't getting to the whole story of Joseph, how he ended up being with the Pharaoh, but yeah, some stuff kicked off with his brothers. They sold him, and you know, so now he with the Pharaoh. So here we go. Genesis, 39th chapter, 2nd verse. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found his favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar, I guess it was the Pharaoh, I can't say his name right, put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and all of what he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything. Prosper had both in his house and in his field. So he left Joseph in care of everything. Got that? He left Joseph in care of everything he had. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. That's it. Pretty much, he knew God was with Joseph. Hey, run it. You got it? Run it. It's about to get deep right here. All right, so now Joseph was a well-built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Did you peep that? Joseph was a well-built, handsome man. He wasn't doing nothing but what he was supposed to do. And the wife tried to get at it. Whew, it's about to get deep. Y'all ready? All right. But he refused. With me in charge, he told her, my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing for me except you, because you are his wife. Got that? Pretty much the Pharaoh gave, he said, you can have anything except my wife. Haha, that's deep. Probably need to read this. All right, now then, could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God? You picked that though? He said the Pharaoh, the master, promised him anything. He got anything. But he said, could he sin against God? Not against, could he go against his master, who is the dude who got him enslaved? Not the Pharaoh, but can he go against God? Why did he throw God in there? Because it's a sin to mess with another man's wife. So he's showing right there his faith. He didn't say, can I go against, oh boy, he gave me all this stuff, I have everything. He didn't say nothing about him. He said, can I go against God? Now listen, gotta read. All right. And though she spoke to Joseph that day after, he refused to go to bed with her and even be with her. So, yeah. So I ask you, you know what I'm saying? When things happen in your life, you know what I'm saying? Do you say, I can't do this because of this reason? Or you say, you know what I'm saying, I can't do it because it's not Christian, it's not godly. Let's dig back into this reading right here. All right. So one day, we're on 11. So one day, He went into the house to attend his duties. Go do what he's supposed to do. You know what I'm saying? So he went in the house. And none of the household servants was inside. She caught him by his cloak and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloak in her hand and ran out of the house. So the first thing is, you know what I'm saying? You see the comedy. You know what the setup looked like. So he already came in. He noticed nobody else was around. So he already was on the P's and Q's. Okay, something ain't right. So she snuck up on him, grabbed him by his jacket. He's like, "Oh no." You know what I'm saying? All this is expendable. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's Stacey Adams. You know what I'm saying? This ain't nothing. So he shook up out of it. Let's see what happens. Oh, yeah. So stick with me. Let's get deep, man. I know. Check it out. So, verse 13. When she saw that he had left his cloak in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servant. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." Did you peep that? She kept his cloak beside her until his master came home. So until the husband came home, she kept the cloak next to her. Then she told him the story. "That Hebrew slave you brought us to come to me and make sport of me. But as soon as I screamed for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." When the master heard the story, his wife told him, saying, "This is how your slave treated me." He burned with anger. Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, the place where the king's prisoners were confined. So did you peep that though? First, I want you to notice, the wife never got a name in this, you know what I'm saying? Which means she's irrelevant. But what she did was important, you know what I'm saying? Now, the Pharaoh believed in David, why he put him in charge of everything. He trusted him with everything. The nameless woman set David up. Being that it came from his wife, he didn't question it. He got angry and sent Joseph to prison. So Joseph's going to prison for saying, "No, I can't smash." Wow. You peeping this? I'm telling you, the Bible's some good reading. I advise you, you know what I'm saying, when you got some time, check it out. It's some pretty good stuff. So, read a little more, and then we'll get to the point. But while Joseph was there in the prison, the Lord was with him. You got that? He went to prison. The Lord was still with him. He showed him kindness and granted him favor in the eyes of the prison warden. So the warden put Joseph in charge of all those held in prison, and he was made responsible for all that was done there. The warden paid no attention to anything under Joseph's care because the Lord was with Joseph and gave him success in whatever he did. So, I hope y'all paying attention. So, first, Joseph was sold by his brothers to the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh knew he was with the Lord, so he put him in charge of everything. The wife hated, because Joseph wasn't about that business, about that bull. He's following the Lord. So she had him thrown in prison. She told her husband he tried to smash, had him thrown in prison. But the Lord was still with Joseph. So even when he got to prison, they knew the Lord was with him. He's in prison in charge of things. How do you go to prison and they put you in charge of things? Think about it. You're the highest person under the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh sends you to prison. So he got to be somebody of high power, the Pharaoh, and he got to be very upset with you because you're like his second in command. So for him to send you to prison, they should be very upset with you. Like, "Oh man, you did something wrong to the boss." But no, they knew he was a man of God. So they put him in charge when he got there. But here's the kicker though, you know what I'm saying? About to get to that good part right now. Hold on. Yeah. So let me close this out, you know what I'm saying? Let me close this out. So so we already know Joseph's in jail now. Book 40. All right now. The cupbearer and the baker. Sometime later, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their master. So they offended the king too. The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, was angry with his two. He was angry with his two officials, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and put them in custody of the house of the captain of the guard, in the same prison where Joseph was confined. The captain of the guard assigned them to Joseph, and he attended them. After they had been in custody for some time, each of the two men, the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were being held in prison, had a dream the same night, and each dream had a meaning of its own. When Joseph came to them the next morning, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why are your faces so sad today?" "We both had dreams," they answered, "but there is no one to interpret them." All right, so they both had dreams. They said there's no one to interpret them. Joseph said. Then Joseph said to them, "Do not interpretation belongs to God. Tell me your dreams." So we're gonna skip ahead. So they both told their dreams to David, right? So the chief cupbearer told Joseph his dream. He said to him, "In my dream I saw a vine in front of me, and on the vine were 3 branches. As soon as it budded, it blossomed, and it clustered, ripened into grapes. Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes, squeezed them into the Pharaoh's cup, and put the cup in his hand." The Pharaoh. "This is what it means," Joseph said to him. "The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will lift up your head and restore you to your position, and you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand, just as he used to do when you were his cupbearer. But when all goes well with you, remember me and show me kindness. Mention to the Pharaoh and get me out of this prison. For I was forcibly carried off from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing to deserve being put in the dungeon." When chief, all right, so the other cat, he said, "Oh," the baker was like, "Oh, so you told him something good?" So he told him his story. He's like, "Yeah, at the end of your story, that means you're about to get murked." So, long story short, book 23, the chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph. He forgot him. So wow. So you think like, wow, what's the moral of the story? What's the point? You know what I'm saying? So we got so far. Joseph, righteous man, man of the Lord, did nothing wrong. He was sold to the Egyptians by his own brothers. Got there, they realized that he was a man of the Lord, so they put him in. He was under the Pharaoh, the second man in charge. The wife thought he was handsome, had a nice body. She tried to get at him. He said, "Nah, I ain't messing with you, lady." She screamed rape. Wow. Of course, you know what I'm saying? Pharaoh got upset. "Why would you do me like this?" Threw him in prison. Even when he got to prison, they realized he was a man of the Lord. Put him in charge down there. So the 2 other people, the cupbearer and the baker, who's real close to the Pharaoh, they end up doing something to piss the Pharaoh off. They end up in prison. When they're in prison, they're put under Joseph, of course, because like I said, everybody realized Joseph, a man of the Lord. He interprets their dreams, and it turned out to be true. But what he said to him, the cupbearer, is, "Do not forget me. Do not forget me." So the moral of the story is, you know what I'm saying? You were put in prison, you went through some things, we went through the struggle. And then God put somebody in your life to help you. And he just basically said, "Don't forget me." What did he do? He forgot it. So we're going to wrap it up right there. We're going to leave it at that. I'm going to close out probably next week with the rest of the story. The story is good. It's a very good story, though. It's a very good story. But moral of the story is, when you're down, when you're in prison, when you're going through the worst things, we all look to the Lord for help. We all look for friends for help, family for help. We praying on things, and we all want to get put back at least to the position that we lost. But then when we get back to that position, do we remember what it took to get back to that position? Are we still giving thanks? Are we still giving praise? Are we still as, I don't know, you put the word in there. I'm trying to be a Christian, so I'm trying to watch what I say. But I just want you to think about that. You know? God put people in your life, good or bad, but for whatever reason, wherever you're at when you meet these people, you should learn something from everybody. All he said was, don't forget me. So when you're broken on warfare, and he brings you from that, and you in Stacey Adams suits, don't forget me. I think a lot of times, we forget. Not my house. Never again. It's a message. Alright, so I guess I get y'all these jokes from the waiting on. I promise them to you. So here's some outtakes. But hopefully you listen to this and you enjoyed the word. And that was Genesis. So if you're bored, not if you're bored. If you really want to realize or understand, what it's all about, get in your Bible. Because hopefully I'm not preaching to the choir. Matter of fact, I take that back. I hope I'm preaching to the choir, because the choir is probably the worst people in the church. You know what I'm saying? I knew this girl one time. Oh, never mind. It's a different story.